Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios Presents Stories. Do you have an IDD that's an individual developmental disability, sort of like autism or ADHD or even Down syndrome or any of the other disabilities out there? Well, my next guests talk about their organization they co-founded, and we'll learn a little bit more about them. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and I'll see you on the other side. See you there. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios Presents Stories. Today I'm joined with Jeff, Howard, and Andy Mullins, the co-creators of iddeate. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thanks, Reed.
Thanks for having us, Reed. Excited to be here.
Let's start off with a very easy question. So tell me about yourselves.
Andy, do you want to start?
Sure. Man, where to begin? Well, I live in Colorado. I've been here about 10 years. We'll probably talk about this at some point, but I've been working in the kind of IDD space for a while. I have a sister who's autistic. And my background really is in marketing and communications, and all things in that realm. But yeah, love living in Colorado. Jeff and I are pretty close to each other, and really excited to be on the show today. Jeff, I'll punt to you.
Thanks. Yeah, I have a similar story. I've been in Colorado for 10 years. I now live out near Salida, Colorado. Yeah, very similar to Andy, worked in autism services and autism care for a number of years, worked in the nonprofit space, and then also spent 3 years in New York City at Donors Choose, which is the model that iddeate is built off of, which we can talk more about, and I know we will. Yeah, a lot of that work in figuring out and thinking through how do we better serve this community really grew out of those experiences.
So how did iddeate come about?
Yeah, I'll jump in first. And so Jeff and I have known each other for a few years now. We were working in separate organizations, but we became kind of professional colleagues and then friends. And we sat down one night over dinner, and we were talking about our careers and some things that had happened in the industry and changes in our lives. And we said, man, what's something we could do that would really help adults? Because we've seen and continue to see every day that, adults transitioning out of high school fall off the services cliff. There's not enough funding and resources available for them. And so our kind of acute observation of that, combined with Jeff's experience working for a nonprofit, I'll let him talk about, led us to building iddeate and the model that you see today.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, Andy and I were acutely aware of all of the resources and the funding going into serving kiddos, and not having parity for those the rest of their lives, right? And in many ways, it's doing a disservice after working in the autism care space, and thinking about, in addition to those acute needs, which are diverse, thinking about what would be a scalable model that could drive high quality resources through funding, through a crowdfunding model, and very similar to Donors Choose, which is the education crowdfunding platform that's been around for 22 plus years, that has helped about, I don't know the exact number of teachers, but they're in about 9 out of 10 school districts at this point. After working there, and Andy and I kind of figuring out what could we do to move the needle to really help this population succeed and reach their dreams and their goals, we asked the simple question that we asked at Donors Choose way back in the day, which was, if there was an easy way for people to see exactly how their dollars were being used, wouldn't they want to give to an adult with IDD who is in need? And that's really how iddeate was born, was building the platform to enable that. And currently right now on the site, we have live requests. People can give as little as $5 to those requests that are live, and then hear back in a vivid way from the individual that they helped.
All right. Where do you see iddeate in 5 years from now?
Oh man, Jeff, I'll let you take that one first.
Yeah. Well, we have an aggressive growth plan. And part of that is that we recognize that the need is massive. And so being a national organization is going to have a much more powerful effect as far as reach and scale. So we have in our business plan a growth strategy to grow to being a national organization and be open to every single county in the country by year 5. And we think we can do it. So it's going to take a lot of help and partnerships for us to get there. But I think that the faster that we can have impact across the country, especially recognizing that a lot of states are more under-resourced than others. So that's part of the urgency around this, is making sure that there is equity for folks across the board.
Yep. Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is I think, our goal is also by year 5 to have a 90+% success rate with our funding. And so we want to make sure that as many people as possible are getting the resources that they need and that they've requested through the site.
Have you seen any success so far with the launch of the site?
Yeah, absolutely. We turned everything on and kind of did our soft launch, if you will. We initially just posted 3 requests. We had many more in the hopper, but we said, let's just take a small batch, let's run them. We promoted it out to the kind of donor community that we've been building, and we funded all 3 of those in less than 72 hours, which was really cool. They were all about $500, and so we were able to very quickly have a positive impact for those 3 individuals and the resources they needed. And we're continuing to see that, with more live requests on the site now. People are going on, they're giving, they're also contributing an additional 15% at checkout, most of them to support our work as a nonprofit, which is really cool.
I'll share one other quick anecdote to add to that. One of our fully funded requests was for a more senior lady in Aurora, Colorado, Miss Klein, who needed some support in getting transportation access to her 3 jobs, one of which is working at the Rocky Stadium, and some dress clothes as well. And so our requests on iddeate are capped at $500, and that may not sound like a lot to folks, but in reality, it's a huge differential in that person's life. And so we were working with a partner organization who knows of Miss Klein, and she's been working in some of their programs. And I talked to her the other day, calling her up and letting her know that Miss Klein got funded. She was one of those requests that got funded, within the first couple of days. And Miss Klein came into the center, found out the news, and she just started having tears come down her face, saying, "Please tell them that they have no idea how much this means to me." And so every donation on our site, we consider a vote for that individual and for their hopes and dreams, and them being able to realize independence, personal development, and job attainment, which is our mission. So that's just a brief glimmer of the sort of life-changing work that we want to bring to a national market.
All right. Before we go on to learn about you guys individually, can you tell my listeners what exactly is IDD? What does it stand for, and how does it tie into the whole community?
Yeah, well, IDD is intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's what the acronym stands for. And so, I mean, it's a huge community, right? There are over 7 million adults just in the United States that are known to have an IDD. So it's a huge population of people. It's a huge community that, again, quite frankly, the result of iddeate, or iddeate being the result of this challenge, is that there's just not enough resources and funding to support them.
Just to tag on to that, and I'm really glad you asked this question, Reed, because one of the reasons why we focused on IDD as a broader community is there's about 7.4 million adults with IDD in the US, and that's an estimate. There's some that are misdiagnosed, who are undiagnosed, but the majority of that population is autistic. However, there are a lot of other types of intellectual and developmental disabilities, including cerebral palsy, ADHD, other developmental delays, learning disorders, vision impairment, Down syndrome. There are a host of other disabilities that fit into that universe. And one of the things that was really important to us is helping make sure that we're supporting a path to those individuals being able to join the workforce, and really find something for them that is fulfilling and gives them a sense of dignity. And so while there are a lot of resources specifically geared towards autism, we wanted to broaden that universe, and help a broader array of individuals, at the same time connecting them with donors who can help learn about their story and better understand what they're hoping to do.
All right. So now let's move in and learn a little bit more about you guys. I'll start with you, Jeff. What motivates you, inspires you, and drives you?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, it is having an impact. And this sounds cheesy, but a lot of the jobs that I've done in the past, they don't pay terribly well in some of the sectors where I've worked: healthcare, education, politics, community organizing. And for me, that doesn't matter. In the end, it's about, really making the world the place that I want to live in, especially these days. And so for me, that's something that gets me up every day, and makes me excited about the work that we're doing at iddeate, is that we're on that path.
Andy?
Yeah, it's kind of the same. I think what has always motivated me across my career and into iddeate today is like building community and bridging gaps and creating relationships. And that's something I am proud of just personally, right? I've worked really hard to build a really big network of people that I work with and lean on for advice and support and all these different things. And so, I've been able to take all those relationships I built over my career over the last 12 years and really bring those to bear with iddeate and helping us support, again, this community of adults living with IDD.
All right. I'll let you guys choose which one of you will answer this next question. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
I'll take this one. So one of the things that we fund at iddeate is coaching. So life coaching, executive functioning, social skills, a whole host of different coaching needs. And I'm a firm believer that coaching's for everybody, right? It's not for professional athletes or just, Fortune 500 executives. Coaching is, and at least all the roles that I've been in, coaches have been my best bosses. They've been my mentors, and they've helped me really grow and learn. And I had a direct report in a previous role say that I was the best boss he'd ever had his entire career. And to me, that meant a ton, because it meant that I was doing my job of mentorship and coaching and leading. And that really left a lasting impression for me.
Yeah, I actually got the compliment, you've left a lasting impression on everyone at this organization. In a few roles back, I was at a healthcare company, a startup, for a number of years, and worked my way up from kind of a specialist beginning at the ground floor all the way up to being, a senior manager and having a handful of direct reports and just carrying a lot of responsibility. And so to have gotten that from somebody above me on my way out was really awesome.
All right. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Andy, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I think professionally, I've worn a lot of hats. I've done a lot of different things, and I'm really happy where I've landed, because obviously all of that experience has brought me to building iddeate with Jeff, we're just super excited about the work we're doing and the impact we're positioned to have. So I'm happy with where I've come out, but I don't know that I'd call it a failure, but I really wish that I had maybe been a little more intentional in my younger years in kind of finding and leaning into my skill set and really picking a clear path forward. But yeah, that's just a learning lesson. That's something that I hope to impart on younger people and my family and friends where I can.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't really look at failure the same way I think some folks do, just from the roles that I've had working in the startup space, working with small businesses, right? Most small businesses are not successful. And for me, failure is part of the journey, right? And it's really about finding your path. And so as you find those dead ends, it reminds me of, trite saying my mom would always say, one door closes and another one opens. And I think that really is true. And I've definitely learned that there are multiple paths to success, and that failure is one of those steps.
All right. Tell me about 3 influential people in your life and how they impacted you.
Sure. My family. So my mom, my dad, my sister, they have very much informed my worldview and my values. And I would say they are the 3 most influential people in my life.
All right.
Yeah, so mine are a little more career oriented. Of course, I'm really close with family and all of that. I would say my grandpa Bud was one of them. He, kind of grew up poor, came out of World War II, and went on to build a really successful business and be a really impactful leader in the local community, and was just someone that was really well liked and well respected and well spoken. So he was definitely one growing up. But the other 2 I would reference are actually women leaders that I've worked for. One is, her name's Barb Green. She did at the time, she was the president of a large hospital system. It was the first place I worked. It was just awesome getting to work with somebody who's really supportive and kind of a visionary. And the second is a woman named Sharon Vessels, who was a mentor of mine, a coach, if you will, professionally for about a year, and just had a really big impact on kind of widening my aperture of who I could become as a professional.
All right. What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
I happen to know that Andy and I have the same answer for this one, so I'll take this one. So I'm a snowboarder. Andy's a skier. We both love, hiking and camping, but really anything with exercise and getting out into nature really, I think, renews both of us in a big way.
Absolutely.
All right. Finish this sentence. I'm at my best when
I am well rested and well fed. That is mine. Absolutely.
Mine is, I'm at my best when I'm in the zone, which is not usually the mornings. It's, my kind of most focused and creative flow state.
All right. If you guys can turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old selves and tell them about where you are now in life, what would you tell them?
Yeah, mine would be, there's a saying that I hear a lot in the startup community, and it's fail fast, fail forward, right? Like learn as quickly as you can and apply that learning to every decision you're making and everything you're doing. So I think that would be mine, is fail fast, fail forward, and should have learned to do that sooner.
I think that's right. Mine probably is to start networking earlier, aggressively networking and building deep relationships with people. And it's one thing that I didn't really start doing successfully until the last 5 or 6 years. Okay. And it's made a huge difference. The other thing I would just say is, as part of that, and that's also for some, networking can be this, but it's leaning into discomfort. And making that safer.
All right. If you both could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
It'd be free marketing for iddeate.
Shameless plug. iddeate, iddeate.org. Please check out some of our live requests.
All right. What do you think the world will look like in 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll go first. I think it's an increasingly crazy world that we live in. Even with all the conversations about AI and some of the other technologies coming online, in my mind, I think that the world mostly will look like it does today. I do think that we're going to make some advances in inclusion and the neurodiversity movement, but I think generally overall, things are not going to be as wild as maybe everyone's talking about right now 5 years from now.
Yeah, I sure hope not. I'm eager to see what the political environment looks like, what the financial environment looks like. But my hope is really that as we kind of continue to come out of COVID and get back into in-person events and everything else, that we just treat each other really kindly. I think the last couple of years have been rough with political environment and also just COVID. And so that's what I hope it looks like.
All right. What was your favorite subject in school?
Mine was art.
Mine was English, and I went on to be a communications major in college, so that ported over very well. But yeah, English.
All right. Are you, when I'm talking to you guys, are you introverted or extroverted?
What's your guess, Reed?
I'm thinking Jeff is a very much an extrovert. He seems the type who enjoys being in parties and amongst people and just having a good time. The same with you, Andy. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I met Andy and his beautiful wife, and he is very much an outgoing person and such a great person in general.
Well, thanks, Reed. I think in some ways we both are extroverts. I would say I have a little bit more of an introverted extrovert kind of presentation, and that's from, yes, I like to go to parties and networking events, but I get tremendously drained from that, where I think Andy, it really renews him. And that's why one of the things that I love about having him as a partner in this work is he's a master relationship builder, an amazing networker, but is really, really comfortable on stage, presenting, talking to press. That's something that's really in his wheelhouse that is maybe not as strong for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's accurate. Yeah, I generally, right, every now and again, I need some time to myself, but generally, I really get fired up about being around people, and it makes me feel good.
Okay. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be and why?
Go for
I'm
it.
gonna go first. Okay. I'm really focused on the work right in front of us, and that is when we look back in time, 23 plus years ago, maybe not quite that long. Everything changed in the autism care space specifically because we altered the funding landscape. There was a state senator in Indiana who advanced a bill that required a mandate. And eventually, it took too long, but eventually that mandate was shared across most of the country. And it started with changing the funding dynamic. And so as we look to the future and we look at what's ahead for adults with IDD or those who are graduating out of ABA or other autism care services, or those more broadly in the IDD community who are looking to figure out how to best support transitioning, it's really about changing that funding landscape for adults with IDD. And I think it's incredibly important work, and I'm really proud. I'm proud about it.
Same. Yeah, that's where what I'd want to be remembered for, right? Is the work we're doing and addressing what is really a critical and widespread need. And I think we're in a great place to do it.
All right. So why don't you tell me about a little bit about where you are now in life?
Yeah, I would say we are in the sometimes romantic, often not so space of being a founder. And the founder of either a for-profit or nonprofit is challenging. It requires a tremendous amount of focus and determination and resilience. And at the same time, I've never had a job that's been more of a calling and that's been more of a joy. And so right now, I've never been more kind of professionally fulfilled, but also personally as well. I moved to the mountains and got out of the Denver corridor, and I've got amazing hiking and mountain biking, 30 seconds away from me. So I'm in a really happy place in life, and I'm working really hard with Andy to help scale this thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Boy, I don't know how to answer this one, Reed. I mean, I'm excited about the work we're doing. Feel really fulfilled on that front. Jeff makes, like, I think the greatest point, which is like it takes a lot of resilience. It has been really hard. It's been just a lot of work and pushing rocks uphill over the last year. But now that we're live and we're seeing that, we're seeing these communities come together, right, in this three-sided marketplace. It's really fulfilling, and so. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I obviously, Reed, missed you, but was just back in Indiana for a month. So I'm also in a place in life where I'm trying to reinvigorate relationships with family and spend more time with parents who are a long way away and things like that. So I don't know, it's good. I'm happy, man.
All right. Now we get into the questions that everyone wants to hear. Jeff, what is your favorite word?
This makes me so happy, Reed. I watched Inside the Actor Studio growing up, and I was always like, I'm never going to be an actor who's interviewed with these questions. But maybe someday there will be someone who asks me these questions in some other format. So I'm super pumped to answer these. My favorite word is yes. Getting to yes.
Andy?
Yeah, it's a really good one. I think mine is happy.
All right.
Just like the word happy. Brings joy.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
I think the inverse is true. No.
Mine would be slightly different, but it's fail.
Right.
I don't think there's any context in which the word fail is really a good thing, and try to avoid it.
All right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, and emotionally?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about relationship building, but I really just like deep conversations about people and about connections and about finding purpose in life. I always walk away from things like that feeling reinvigorated.
Mine is snowboarding. I am a snowboarding addict. It resets my brain. And it definitely just renews me in every sense.
All right. What turns you off?
For me, it is cruelty.
Yeah, cruelty is a big turn off. I think passiveness would be mine.
Mm-hmm. All right. What is your favorite curse word?
I really like shit. Shit's it's a staple.
There's so many good ones. I have some allegiance to the F word, but I think like my general go-to favorite curse word is God damn it. I don't know why that has stuck, but it's stuck.
All right.
What's yours, Reed?
Fuck.
Yeah. Universally loved.
Yeah.
Yes, that is.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of nature, specifically running water. But anything that sounds like nature, birds, like what you would hear on like a hike. Those are noises that I just really, really cherish.
Yeah, I really love orchestral instruments. I spent a lot of time playing and studying music and played the upright bass for many years. And so, upright bass, violin, cello. I really love a solid stringed instrument.
All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
Construction.
Screaming babies.
All right. What is your favorite color?
We're both blue.
All right. What is
Blue
your
all
least
the way.
favorite color? What is your least favorite color?
We're both red. Blue and red.
All right.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I think as Andy and I look to the horizon, and we've got a lot of work to do to get there. One thing I think that would be really fun to do later in my career after we really, build Iddeate to be, the juggernaut that we want it to be would be running an investment shop focused on funding disability-led small businesses and startups. I think that there is a tremendous amount of potential in that sector, and there isn't a lot of access to capital. And I think that is a crying shame. So I think, running some sort of investment fund that would help individuals start their own businesses would be amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love to be a pilot. I've always been fascinated by flights. I have friends that have gotten their private pilot's licenses, and so I've been up a few times flying outside of just commercial aircraft, and I just think it's really freaking cool.
All right. What professions would you not like to do?
Coder. I you could just take me out back and shoot me before you'd make me a coder. Getting into that granular stuff, yeah, I don't think would really jive with the way I work.
I think we have a good division of labor there, because as someone who codes, that is definitely one of those things that you either, I think, love or hate. For me, I think it would be a lawyer. I don't think I would want to be a lawyer.
All right. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Nice work down there.
Oh, I don't know. I'll go with a cheesy one, but it would be kind of fun. I'd like to hear God say, "Oh, it's you. I just gave you a request on iddeate." That would be pretty fun. But no, I think in all seriousness, job well done.
All right. When you arrive at heaven, who would you like to meet?
I'd love to see my Grandpa Bud again. Yeah, he's the one I mentioned was a big influence in my life, and among many other family members, he's someone I would be really excited to see again.
All right.
I think because it's on my mind, Donald Triplett, and for those that don't know, is the first person to be diagnosed with autism. I think it would be amazing to meet Donald Triplett
That's right.
in heaven.
He just passed away.
Just passed away. He did. Yeah. Case number 1.
What books do you recommend my audience reading or read?
Well, I'll touch on this one. In fact, one of the books that I just recently read, it's fantastic, and it talks a lot about Donald Triplett, is Neurotribes. It's the Legacy of Autism and the Future of Neurodiversity by Steve Silberman. Really powerful read, not a short read, but a really wonderful kind of chronicling of all of the amazing advocacy work that has brought us to where we are today in this space.
Yeah, I more on the fiction side for me, it's where I tend to spend time reading. If I do, there's it's like a thriller novel called I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes. It is a fantastic read. And there's another book by Ayn Rand called Atlas Shrugged. Also a really long, kind of dense read, but is a book that I really enjoyed and would love to read again.
All right, and finally, where can people find out more about the both of you and iddeate?
We are online at iddeate, iddeate.org. You can connect with us there. You can fill out a contact us form. You can reach us via phone and on LinkedIn. So Andy Mullins and obviously Jeff Howard, we are in those places and easily accessible.
And that is it, everyone. That was Jeff Howard and Andy Mullins from iddeate, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys.
Thanks so much, Reed.
Thanks, Reed.
Not a problem.